You're welcome.
Uh, and thank you everyone for joining in today. My name is Professor Ishaan Srivastava. I'm faculty at the School of Accounting and Financial Services at Seneca Polytechnic, and I'm also the coordinator there for Seneca FinTech. And today I'd like to talk to you about a little bit about artificial intelligence, fraud that uses artificial intelligence, and how it affects you. So without wasting any time, let's begin with a quick overview of what is artificial intelligence. Now, it's in its simplest form. Artificial intelligence really is about creating machines that can think, that can learn, and act intelligently. It's a branch of computer science that aims to stimulate, or rather, emulate human intelligence in machines. Now, as you know, intelligence in humans essentially can be narrowed down to our ability to extrapolate information from a limited data set and our ability to then effectively use that information to facilitate decision making. Now, at this point, it is important to understand the difference between the terms data and information. Now, these two terms are used often interchangeably, but there is a significant difference. And the difference really comes down to what they lend towards. Data is nothing more than raw facts, right? It's a statement of what is, it's historical, it tells you what happened in the past, and it is nothing more than that. It cannot be simplified, it cannot be argued with, it just is what it is. Information, on the other hand, is data that has been modified, that has been analyzed, that has been processed. You're essentially contextualizing data to allow yourselves to be able to use that information to make decisions in the future. So data is historic, tells you what happened in the past. Information is data that is processed that allows you to predict what is likely going to happen in the future. And the purpose why we come up with this entire process of turning data into information is so that we can use that information to make decisions. The better information we have, the more quality, the more quantity of information we have, the better our decisions are going to be. Say, think for example, when you go and do some online purchasing, either from Amazon or eBay or some site like this, once you made your purchase, once everything is complete, you go to the very bottom, and at the bottom there are a few more recommended items, 5 items that are recommended that you might be interested in. Now, if you think about it, Amazon has about 1 billion different products that it can sell you, but it's got only 5 slots in which it can give you its recommendations, which means that those 5 slots are very, very expensive real estate. If they do their analysis properly, they will be able to give you products that will actively gather your interest, and you might actually end up purchasing them. If they don't, then they will lose a potential sale. So it's very important that they go through the process of turning that data into information very, very well so that they can make the apt decisions. Now, in this case, the recommendation is the decision that they have to make. The decision itself has to be drawn from information, and that information itself has to be drawn from data. So, what could be the data in this case? What essentially would be the raw facts about you and your transactions at Amazon? Well, simple. That would be your histories, your search history, your purchase history, the purchase histories of other people who purchase the same items that you have, their search histories. All of these would be the data set that Amazon has to work with. Using all these, analyzing all of these, Amazon will then turn them into your buying habits that will allow them to predict what are you likely going to do? What time of the day do you normally buy? How much do you normally purchase in a single go? What type of shipping do you prefer? Whether you want to go to Amazon Prime, whether you want 1 day, 2 day free shipping, whatever have you. And based off all of this information, then they will recommend products that fits the bill. That is the key here, the process of turning that data into information so that we make our decisions. AI really is the human attempt to delegate that decision making process to an information system, to a computer. At its core, AI involves the development of algorithms. Algorithms themselves are nothing more than a set of rules that guide decision making processes. These algorithms, they enable machines to perform tasks that usually require human intelligence. This would include things like recognizing speech, translating languages, identifying images, and naturally making decisions. One of the key drivers behind AI is the concept of machine learning. And machine learning is essentially just a computer learning from data. Think of it this way. The way you teach a child through examples, the more examples that you give, the better the child will understand and generalize. Same happens with AI. AI systems learn from the vast amounts of data to recognize patterns and make the decisions based on those patterns. The aim, really, at the end of the day, about AI is to have an information system whose actions and behaviors are near indistinguishable from human actor. So, whether that action was taken by an AI, whether that action was taken by a human, you should not be able to tell. That would be the epitome of artificial intelligence. And that's really what we're driving towards. Now, we can differentiate AI under two different aspects. The first is the scope. Now, AI can be broken down into two categories based just on the scope. We have narrow AI and we have general AI. Let's begin with narrow AI. Now, narrow AI is often referred to as weak AI. This form of AI surrounds us in our daily lives. It's specialized, it's focused, and is designed to provide and to perform specific tasks. You have examples as in voice assistants on your smartphones like Siri or Alexa. You've got chatbots that allow for customer service. Anytime you try to contact a company using their online chat feature, that would be a chatbot. Narrow AI really enhances the efficiency and accuracy across various industries. It's this type of AI really that would recommend the next movie that you're going to watch on Netflix or would recommend the quickest route on Google Maps. The advantage of narrow AI is that its precision and cost effectiveness vastly outscales anything that a human could do. The precision and the cost effectiveness, that's the key here. In healthcare, for example, it assists in diagnosing diseases and analyzing patient data. In the retail sector, it revolutionizes shopping experiences by personalizing recommendations, like we talked about in Amazon. Um, this AI really is the tireless worker. It's capable of handling vast amounts of data, making operations more scalable, and naturally reducing human error involved therein. However, narrow AI is not without its limitations. Its scope is confined and it's limited heavily to the tasks that it's programmed for. It lacks the adaptability and it's very heavily reliant on the quality of data that it's fed. Naturally, you might have heard of the term GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. Depending on the quality and the quantity of the data that is fed into a narrow AI, the better the outcome will be. It cannot make judgments in unforeseen situations. That is the key here. It cannot make judgments in unforeseen situations, thereby limiting its application to predefined scenarios. On the other hand, we have general AI, which is also known as strong AI. Now, this is the AI of science fiction. Right? This is the AI that you see in movies. It has the ability to understand, to learn, and apply its intelligence broadly, like a human would. Say, for example, Jarvis from Iron Man or Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Those would be examples of general AI. However, general AI at the moment is still just theory. It's a theoretical concept. We haven't had yet the ability to implement general AI. Its potential, naturally, its potential use cases are vast, they're varied, however, still theoretical. Imagine, for example, an AI that's capable of independent scientific research, independent innovation, and a versatile problem-solving capability across disciplines. This AI would continuously learn, would continuously adapt, and possibly even eventually possess self-awareness. But naturally, with great power comes great responsibility. The development of general AI brings forth significant ethical and safety concerns. How do we control an AI that might eventually surpass human intelligence? The unpredictability and the moral implications of a self-aware AI, they pose questions we simply just haven't got any answers to. Moreover, our current technological capabilities are simply not sufficient enough to realize a general AI. So that was the key difference in terms of scope. You've got the narrow and you've got the general. Next, we can delineate AI based on the decision matrix, as in the inner workings of the AI. The most basic level of AI is mere automation of actions and reactions. This we call perceptive response. What happens here essentially is that a predefined set of stimuli and responses are created, and these are fed to the AI. The AI will then follow along, detecting and categorizing the stimuli, and based on the decision matrix, it will make the predefined response. In essence, it's a simple if-then implementation. If A, do B. If C, do D. That's it. An easy example would be of autonomous cars at a traffic light. So if the car detects that the light is red, stop. That's what it's supposed to do. If the light is amber, it should slow down in preparation to stop. And if the light is green, it should just proceed as usual. However, what do you do if the traffic light is on fire? I mean, we have no such stimuli that is defined, and there's naturally no action plan that is delineated for this. What do we do in this case? What does the car do in this case? This is where adaptive cognition comes in, which is the second tier decision matrix. In adaptive cognition, the decision matrix is not limited to the predefined stimuli and action sets. It's not limited to what the system has been told to do. Rather, it can grow and recognize new stimuli, and based on that, it can describe action plans for these new stimuli. However, to do this, it must defer to humans' instruction. So, for example, when a self-driving car will come across a traffic light, if it's green, it'll go. If it's red, it'll stop. If it's amber, it'll slow down. What will it do when it's on fire? Well, it'll give the controls over to the human driver, whether local or remote. Based on the actions of the driver, then the car will update its decision matrix to match the actions. So if the human treats the burning traffic light as a four-way stop, that is what the car will do. Now, if the human decides to make a U-turn and get out of there, well, that is what the car will do. Now, it's learning from what the human tells it to do. Remember, this stimulus, this set that was a burning traffic light, previously did not exist, but now it does. Why? Because the car was able to recognize that this is something beyond its current decision matrix, and it deferred the authority to the human to determine an action plan for it. The highest order of decision matrix is what's called experimental pedagogy. In this model, the AI will not only grow based on human direction, I mean, that it already has to do, but it will also independently search for possible stimuli variables and will try to correlate their impact on the action plans. It will independently search for possible stimuli variables and try to correlate their impact on the action plans. An example, you have a Tesla and you want to drive it all the way from Toronto to Ottawa. You instruct it, okay, drive me from this address in Toronto to this address in Ottawa. The Tesla will make a note of a bunch of factors. It'll look at traffic conditions, it'll look at the battery charge, and all of these factors that have already been predetermined. And based on those factors, it's going to decide the best route that it's supposed to take. However, in addition to this, it will also analyze petabytes worth of answer sensory data in order to identify other factors that could affect the final outcome. Say, for example, the tire pressure. Over time, the car will recognize that there is a correlation that exists between tire pressure and mileage. It'll determine that, okay, a lower tire pressure will yield lower mileage, a higher tire pressure or an optimal tire pressure will yield an optimal mileage. It will then automatically incorporate this into its calculations and will advise you to fill up the tire to the optimal pressure every time you drive. See, it's adding a new stimulus. It's adding a new stimulus that previously did not exist. This factor did not exist in the decision matrix, nor did the car come across it in the real world. It simply looked for it in correlation to the outcome and found that yes, there is a correlation that exists, and so we're going to take it in. So that is the highest order of decision matrix. So remember, we've got three orders of decision matrix. The very basic is automation, the basic automation that that we call perceptive response. Above that, we have adaptive cognition, in which when it comes across a new stimuli, it will defer to the human to tell it what to do, and it'll start doing that in the future. And then at the very highest level, we have experimental pedagogy, wherein the AI will actively look for facts that have not yet been delineated, and it will incorporate them into the decision matrix. That would be the highest order of AI. So that really is about a good introduction into what AI is all about. Next, I'd like to talk about the frauds that AI can potentiate. And the first of which is something called phishing. Phishing. Now, some of you might have heard of this term before, some of you might not, but I can almost guarantee that everyone has come across it in their lives in one form or another. Phishing really is nothing more than a cybercrime wherein individuals are contacted by email, by telephone, by text message, essentially by someone posing as a legitimate institution. They really aren't, but they're just pretending to be. The aim, what's the aim? Well, to lure individuals into providing sensitive data like personally identifiable information, banking, credit card details, passwords, addresses, social insurance numbers, things like that. This method is deceptively simple. From the top, when you think about it, it sounds almost absurd. How could this even work? But it does. It's very, very effective. Say, for example, you receive an email that appears to be from a trusted source, say, for example, your bank or an online service that you registered with. This email, very often, and this is a trick with phishing, it creates a sense of urgency. A problem with your account, a deadline for a response, or a prize awaiting confirmation. You need to act and you need to act now. Phishing emails, and this is a classic giveaway, they don't give you time to think. They need you to act immediately because your immediate response is exactly what's going to allow them to succeed in their goals. If you stop and you think about it, you start picking holes in the story, you might not do what they want you to do. So they need you to have an immediate response. You click on the provided link and you are led to a fake website, which is a near perfect replica of the real one. Say, for example, you get an email from TD and it says, okay, something's wrong with the account. Click here to reset your password or click here to confirm this transaction or something like that. You click on it and whoa, it looks like you have the TD website open. But if you look up into the browser address bar, you'll notice that the domain name seems to be a little off. That is phishing, right? When you click on that provided link, you're led to a fake website, which is a near perfect replica of the real one, and any information that you will enter here will go straight to the cyber criminals. Now we have phishing, and we have another term called vishing. Vishing, it's a closer relative of phishing. Vishing really is voice phishing, right? Voice phishing. So it uses this telephone to scam and scam users into surrendering private information that then will be used for identity theft. Almost everyone here would probably have gotten a call from the CRA saying that, oh, you owe money, give us your credit card details or you're going to go to jail. Almost everyone in Canada right now has gotten that email. That would be an example of vishing. Right? The scammer will pretend to be a representative from a legitimate company or a government agency. Most people will see through it. Some people might fall for it. And the ones who do, well, the scammers are able to get enough money out of them to continue on this path. Right? Now, say, for example, a simple scenario. You get a call from your bank, right? Phone rings, you say hello, and they say, well, sir, I'm calling from the fraud prevention department at TD Bank, and we noticed that there was a transaction of $1,800 in Mexico. And you're like, well, I was in Mexico a week ago, but I don't think I made a transaction of 1,800. So somebody probably stole my credit card there. Well, that's the first place your mind will go. So you tell them that. They say, well, okay, you know what? We're going to cancel that transaction. But before we can do that, we need your personal information. So they ask you for your credit card number. They ask you for the CVC, the expiration date. They ask you for your name, your date of birth, your address, all of that. And you happily give them away because now you're thinking, oh, well, I'm just protecting myself from being scammed. But you don't know that you're actively being scammed now. There was no transaction to begin with. It was all fabricated. This phone call was the transaction that they were going to. And once they have that information from you, they will go ahead and take it off. So that would be an example of phishing. Now, this might seem like, oh, well, it can happen. It's just a few dollars that are gone out of my pocket at most, because at the end of the day, credit cards do have a limit on how much money can be withdrawn from them. So, well, at the end of the day, just a lesson learned. But it can take a much, much more sinister turn. And I'm going to play a video for you. I'd like you to listen to it carefully and try to understand just how deep and varying the impact of vishing and phishing can be. Take a look here.
It's a phone call John Bridges will never forget.
I said, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" She goes, "I've had an accident and I need your help."
His daughter panicked and crying before another voice gets on the line.
He goes, "I'm wanting to give your daughter back to you, but I need some cash."
Bridges says he didn't end up giving money to the scammer thanks to his quick-thinking wife who called their actual daughter to confirm she wasn't being held hostage. But he got close, even grabbing cash from home and driving it to a meetup location.
When I first heard my daughter's voice, I mean, it was my daughter's voice. It convinced me that that was her.
Calls like this have the Federal Trade Commission sounding the alarm this month, warning of advancing artificial intelligence used to simulate someone's voice in imposter scams, the most commonly reported fraud in 2022, with losses jumping to $2.6 billion last year.
It's critical that people are aware this technology is out there and that it's really very good.
Voice cloning isn't a new concept, but it's becoming more accessible, accurate, and easier to use thanks to AI. Cybersecurity expert Tiago Enriquez, who says he's now seeing insurance claims for this kind of fraud, showed us just how easy it is.
We're going to try and find some audio samples of you.
He pulled videos from my social media and uploaded clips to one of a growing number of voice cloning programs.
So it's literally a matter of dragging and dropping audio clips into this program.
That's it.
Then came typing what to say, and with the click of a button...
I already tried to call the bureau. It was weird no one answered.
Sounds pretty good.
But could I fool a colleague with it?
Hello? Are you crazy busy? I forgot my corporate card.
Oh, no.
Can I borrow yours real quick? I just need to pay for a few things. I'll get the receipts.
It wasn't perfect. There were delays, and some sentences sounded more genuine than others, but...
I gotta run out and get my wallet.
It worked.
Thank you so much. Call you in a bit.
My colleague later stunned by the generated audio's accuracy.
So I pride myself on never falling for that stuff.
Experts say to make sure you don't fall for it, be skeptical whenever asked for money in any form. Don't rely on the caller ID. Those can be faked. And even if it sounds like a loved one calling, hang up and call the person yourself.
Are we going to see an increase in this sort of thing?
I believe we are. As attackers get more familiar with these technologies, what they can do with it, how to operate them, we are going to see an increase in scam attacks.
New technology requiring new lines of defense. Emily Ikeda, NBC News, New York.
Thanks for watching.
As you saw in that video, we have introduced the concept of voice cloning. Now, voice cloning, really, it's nothing new. It has existed for eternity. I mean, you look at any movie, any spy movie from James Bond to Mission Impossible, they all have voice cloning here. What the difference is that AI has made this technology available to the masses. Now, almost anyone can engage in voice cloning, and using that, they can commit phishing. Right? So that is something you do need to be aware of. I'd like to hear from you on the chat. Have you ever received a call like this? What would your actions be? If you received a call like that, what would you do? I'd like to hear from you. Please write your answers in the chat. I see Kaden here said that I received a call from the fraud department before I stopped and verified the number with Google first before providing personal information. Excellent idea. Yes, absolutely. Anytime you get a call that forces urgency up to you, your triggers should be up there. The flag should go up. You should know that, okay, something is up. You really need to be very, very careful about what happens here. Give me your name again. Okay, Carol says, give me your name again. Ask for ID and phone number. Good, good. Tina, I state that I'm not interested. All right, superb. See, the thing is, I repeat again, AI isn't going to be used to commit any new frauds, right? These frauds have already existed in the past. What's going to happen is it's going to make it much, much more common, much more frequent, because the tools that were limited to some personnel back in the day are now available to almost anyone. I mean, you can do it. Go on Google and search voice cloning, and there's 100 websites wherein you can go and do it yourself. And voice cloning, if voice cloning isn't enough for you, here's the kicker. Our next
I am
Deep faking. What's this?
not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me? What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel? I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
If voice cloning wasn't enough, now we've got deep faking to deal with. Now, deepfake technology really, what it does, it uses advanced AI and machine learning to create hyper-realistic but entirely fabricated images and videos, right? It can make people appear to say and do things that they never did. From a very first glance, it might seem like it's just a mere advancement in visual effects. I mean, most video games these days seem to be very realistic. However, if you think about it deeply, the implications are far more profound and potentially entirely perilous. See, the thing is, human brains are hardwired to trust visual content, which makes deepfakes a very powerful tool for misinformation. With deepfakes, seeing really is no longer believing. This technology here, it can create convincing fake news, manipulate political discourse, even disrupt democratic processes. You might be surprised, but just recently, a few weeks ago, a video came out of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky telling his army, telling his soldiers to stand down and surrender to Russia. It was faked. It was deep fake. And well, it was of a terrible quality, so most people didn't actively believe it. But imagine if people started doing that. What kind of implication would that be? On a personal level, deepfakes, they have been used to create false pornography and revenge porn, which has caused irreversible damage to the reputations and personal lives of people. In professional settings, they can be used to fabricate evidence, to impersonate officials, and to create fraudulent communications. The rise of deepfake really is slowly but very certainly eroding the very fabric of trust that we live in. In this world where deepfakes have become commonplace, our trust in media, institutions, and even interpersonal communications, well, it's just going to be undermined, and profoundly so. The consequences for journalism, law enforcement, political integrity, all of these are deeply concerning. Now, detecting deepfakes it's a daunting task. As technology advances, naturally, distinguishing between real and fake will become increasingly difficult, even for sophisticated AI systems. At the end of the day, it really just boils down to an arms race between the creation and the detection of a significant, and that poses a significant challenge in addressing the deepfake problem. Now, you might think that deepfake, well, it's not really going to be your problem. It's a celebrity problem, not mine. But then think of it this way, right? Imagine this. One fine evening, you're having a cup of tea and you get a video call from a loved one. They look stressed, they look harassed, and they tell you that they've been arrested. They've been arrested while vacationing in Singapore or Thailand or somewhere like that. They say, well, they don't have the money to post bail and they need you to send $100 by Interac immediately, right? Remember, this is a video call. You're looking at their faces. You're looking at them and you're looking at them as they do this. And before you can ask anything more, well, the call cuts off abruptly. What do you do? What do you do? Now, you might have thought that this was a scam call, but then you saw their face, you heard their voice in panic. You have every reason to believe that the call and act upon it. But then at the end of the day, none of it is true. Right? None of it is true. Using the photos and videos of your loved one on social media, scamsters created a deepfake video of them, called you with it, and made you send them all the money, all without you knowing the better. I mean, think about it. What would you do if you got a call from a loved one someone you really care about, in complete panic, and they tell you, well, they're stuck somewhere, they can't get out, they need money, what would you do? What would your instincts be? I mean, the phone with voice cloning was already something to deal with. What would happen if you can actually see their expressions? And now think, with the advent of the advent of social media, with everyone posting everything that they have on social media, videos and photos and all of those, it becomes increasingly easy for scamsters to create deepfake. Why? Because you're literally providing them with all the material they need to make clones of your voice and of your face. How will you protect yourself against that? That is something you need to consider. Which brings us to the last point here of identity theft. Identity theft. Now, identity theft really, when you think about it, involves stealing personal information and using it fraudulently. It's not just about unauthorized financial transactions. No, it extends to misusing social security numbers, creating fake identities, and even impersonating people, impersonating individuals for criminal activities. Now, traditionally, identity theft involves stealing mail, skimming credit cards, or dumpster diving for personal information. Today, however, it is much, much more sophisticated. Cyber criminals will use phishing emails, malware, and even social media to gather personal details. Data breaches at large corporations have also become a goldmine for these thieves. The impact of identity theft can be and is usually devastating. Financial losses are simply just the tip of the icebergs. Victims, they face damage to their credit scores, they face denial of loans, and even legal issues when their identity is used for criminal activities. The emotional toil, let alone the stress and the sense of violation, it all can be very overwhelming. Now, AI algorithms, remember, AI algorithms aren't doing the identity theft. No, what they're doing is they're just facilitating the identity theft. At the end of the day, it's still just a person on the other end who's doing this. AI algorithms can process vast amount of data to find patterns and personal information. They can do this much quicker than a human possibly can. This makes the process of gathering data for identity theft much more efficient and way more far-reaching. AI used for phishing and deepfakes can fast-track the process 100-fold. So the question arises, what can I do? Remember, AI isn't creating any new scams, right? It only allows for a scaling up. Where a hacker would have to spend weeks gathering all your data to impersonate you, AI will allow them to do this in minutes. Where a deepfake video would have taken, say, 72 hours to create for a single person, now it can do so for thousands of people in the same time span. Where a fisher or a visher would have to call one by one, each of the targets one by one, AI will allow them to target 1,000 people in the same day. These aren't new scams. They're just more frequent. And AI allows that. Right? That's what's important. AI allows that. So what are the protective measures that you can take? Number one, do not fall for urgency. Do not fall for urgency. Any call you receive, any email, any text, any communicate that you get that really is determined on you acting immediately, beware of that. Right? Beware of that. Second, be careful of what you click on. Every now and then you will get an email, you will get a text with the link on it. Do not click the link. If you know the website, open up your browser, type the website's address yourself manually, or go to Google, type the website's address and use that. Do not click a link. Right? Do not click any links that come to you. Be aware of what authorities will and will not ask of you. A lot of people have gotten calls from CRA saying that, oh, you owe money or you defaulted on your credits or something, and we're going to put you on arrest unless you pay us right now. CRA doesn't do that. CRA doesn't demand that you pay them on the phone. It never has, it never will. Be aware of that. Your credit card company will never demand your personal information on the phone just like that. No, be aware of that. Okay? Monitor your digital activity. Look for logins on your system, on your any account, your email account, your Facebook account. Go to settings and look for the logins. It'll tell you exactly how many computers you're logged in from. You might be logged in from a computer here, you might be logged in on your phone, and if you see yourself logged in on a different device that you do not recognize, log out of it. Log out of it, because it often happens that people, when they log into websites, they forget, or rather they neglect to log out. They just close the button and they think it's all done, but no, you haven't logged out, right? You need to actively log out. Look at your credit card information. Look at your credit report information. If you notice that there's any loans that have been taken out under your name that you do not recognize, if you notice that there's been something, a new utilities account, a new cell phone account, a new credit card account that you do not recognize, act upon that immediately, right? Observe your financial activity and you should be fine. Next, secure your accounts. Secure your accounts. What I mean by this simply is two things. One, passwords. A lot of people tend to use the same password for multiple websites. That is a caveat in it itself, because if I manage to figure out your password, not only do I have access to one website, I have access to all of your accounts. So never use the same password for multiple websites. Use a different password for your phone, a different password for your email, a different password for your bank. And the same applies, not just the password, but also the PIN code. Use different PIN codes. Second, make your password difficult, right? See, the thing is, when someone is trying to break into your system and they're trying to guess your password, they do what's called a brute force attack. A brute force attack. And what that really means is they try to manually guess every single letter of your password. Now, the first method of doing a brute force attack is what's called a dictionary attack, as in they try to use words that are in a dictionary that they can actually actively relate to you, that are linked to you. Right? They will use those words first. So never set you as your password the names of your loved ones, of your pets, of your home, or anything like that, of your village, of your town, wherever. No, never have a name, never have a password that you can find in a dictionary. Your password should be random letters and numbers and symbols. They should be alphanumeric, numbers, letters, and symbols that stand no meaning. It shouldn't even be a mnemonic. A lot of people think, okay, you know what, maybe if I use a mnemonic, then it'll be easier for me to remember. Don't. No. Write them down somewhere and keep that safe. Better yet, use a password manager. There's many different password managers out there. Most of them are free. Use that. Third thing you can do, use two-factor authentication. Right? Two-factor authentication. Now, what is two-factor authentication? If anyone's ever worked in a bank, you would know that you get this little dongle with a series of 6 numbers on it that changes every 60 seconds. So whenever you enter the system, you have to enter your user ID and password, and you also have to enter that 6-digit system, that 6-digit number. Now that number changes every 60 seconds, which means that even if someone manages to get your ID and password, they will not be able to figure out those 6 digits within 60 seconds, which means that they will not be able to break into your system, even if they have your ID and password. Two-factor authentication apps are available on both iPhones and Android devices. You can download them, either use the Google one, use the Microsoft one, or use the Apple one. All of these authenticator apps are available to you. Use them, right? Use them. If you find it difficult, you can't figure out, go to YouTube, look up two-factor authentication. There's 100,000 videos over there that will teach you within 30 seconds how to use a two-factor authentication. Go and do that tonight, because you can never act on your security soon enough. And lastly, limit your social media exposure. And this really applies more to those of the younger generation. There is a tendency to post every aspect of your life, right? It's important that you try to restrain from doing such things, because you're essentially just giving scamsters the information they need to be able to hack you, to fish on you, or to take off your identity. Say, for example, if I post on social media going to Mexico for a week for my birthday, then I've already given anyone who has access to my profile, and usually it is available for free. They will know that A, I will be away from home for a whole week. B, they will know exactly what my date of birth is. Both of these things are things that you'd rather keep to yourselves, right? If you do have to post something, post it to a group of people, to a limited group of people who you know and trust, right? Who you know and trust. And that's really the few things that you can do to protect yourself in this increasingly volatile world of social security, of cybersecurity, as in terms of artificial intelligence. I'm open to any questions that you have. Thank you all for listening. It's been a great session, and I hope you learn and are able to teach others about this as well. Remember, everything that you learned here today, there's 100 other sources. I'm not the only source. There's 100 other sources, and naturally, the library would be your first point of reference to look for sources on AI and fraud. But thank you all for listening, and I wish you all a great evening. Thank you.
If you have any questions, please do ask. We have 10 more minutes.
See, there's a question from Tina. Where do we find the additional password? I think you're talking about the two-factor authentication thing. Is that what you're talking about, Tina? If you are, two-factor authentication, what happens essentially? Now, those who worked in banks and other financial institutions, they're issued with a device that contains the 6 digits that they need to access their accounts. You can download apps on your phone, on Windows, sorry, on Apple or on Androids. You have the Microsoft Authenticator, you have the Google Authenticator, and you can set them up. There's a million videos on YouTube that will allow you to set your accounts up. So say, for example, you want to set up a two-factor authentication on your Gmail. All you really need to do is download the Google Authenticator app on your phone, and it'll run you through the whole setup. You go to settings and then say set up two-factor authentication. It'll ask you to scan a QR code using your camera. You scan that, and just like that, you now have a two-factor code. So anytime you want to log into your Google account, you will have to enter your user ID, you will have to enter your password, and then you will have to open up the Authenticator app, and you'll have to type in the code before it expires within 60 seconds. And that's that. Now you are more secure than other people. The thing is, when it comes to cybersecurity, it's like running away from a bear, right? You don't have to be faster than the bear. You just have to be faster than other people running around you. Right? So just putting a simple thing as two-factor authentication will make you more secure than 99% of people out there. And that itself is enough to deter a hacker. I mean, if someone really wants to get into your account, they certainly will get into your account. But the thing about hackers and the thing about scamsters is they want the best bang for their buck, right? They're looking at return on investment. If they can get the details of 10 people in an hour worth of effort, as opposed to just one person in the same hour effort, they'll go for the 10 people, right? So it really is just about that. Kaden asks, are password managers safe to store all your passwords? Well, it depends which one you use, right? Depends on which one you use. Say, for example, I use the Google infrastructure a lot, so I use the Google Password Manager. Anyone who uses iPhones will have the key tag, the keychain that they can use as a password manager on their devices. These are very good systems, but of course, nothing is absolutely immune from failure. Right? The problem with two-factor authentication is if you lose your phone, then you can't get into your account unless, of course, you have written down your backup passcodes. So it does come with a caveat. But then again, security comes at the cost of efficiency. Any other questions I can answer?
Okay, I think that's all for today. And there's no more questions, I think. So thank you, Professor Ishaan, for your wonderful presentation. I think everyone who attended enjoyed and learned something new, and also they all will be a bit cautious about all the things you mentioned where we need to be careful, whether it is email, whether it is a call, whether it is phishing, whether it is on browsing. So AI had to be cautious, and artificial intelligence, which brings lots of positiveness, but also we saw that there are some negativity coming out of the technology too. So it's a wonderful presentation. I think everyone enjoyed, and thank you once again, Professor Ishaan.
Thank you very much, Subramania. Take care, everyone.
Take care, and everyone have a good night. Take care. Bye.